What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Make It Kustom. I have a product review video for you guys because if you're like me, you've been seeing all these inverter welders popping up for like really good deals all over the place, and you want to know whether or not they hold up. This is the Arcaptain MIG200. So it's a pretty powerful machine, and it's like, if you use the code that you'll get in the video, it's like 500 bucks, which is kind of crazy for a welder that you could do pretty much anything with if you're building cars, like chassis stuff, everything. So we're gonna test it today. I'm gonna go on 1/4" material, I'm gonna go on sheet metal, and we are gonna just set this thing up. We're gonna have a look at it, and it's gonna be a fully honest review of how this thing works, and you'll see the results. So I'm really excited to give it a try because Arccaptain's been kind of popping up in my feed in a bunch of different places. So let's see what the machine looks like. Oh, it's a box within a box. It's a boxception. Or is it upside down? No, it's not upside down. That would be embarrassing. Let's have a look at what we got here. All right. It's really not that heavy. It's like less than 30 pounds. We've got, 110 volt or 220. I actually didn't realize that. That's cool for a MIG welder to be able to do both. Sometimes you only have 110 available to you, so you could take it to a buddy's place. You could help them out. There she is. Soak it in. Take it all in. Does this thing stick weld? Usually TIG welders also stick weld. I've never met a MIG welder that also stick welds, but the Arccaptain does. There's a stick welder. Now some of you might be thinking like, why? Why even have a stick welder? I use stick welders still. I'll tell you why. Have you ever tried to repair cast iron? If you're trying to repair cast iron, you need a high nickel rod for stick welding. Something to think about. Look that up. It is actually awesome. Like I did some gas pumps for a guy where I had to do that. I've not done it personally, but I know people who have welded up cracks in engine blocks, things like that, and you use stick welding for cast. So that's a cool option. I don't know if we're gonna try that today, but we're definitely gonna set this thing up, put a spool of wire in it. They also hooked me up with one of their welding helmets, so we'll give that a shot as well. Like, this stuff is cheap. Like, I think the welding helmet's like 50 bucks or something, and yeah, it comes with a couple lenses. I checked out their site. Everything that you need for this thing, it's all available. It's not like, some brand new company that doesn't have the support that you need in case you need consumables or whatever. So let's get this thing put together. We'll have a look at how easy it is to put a spool of wire in it. We're gonna check out the display, see how that all works. We'll hook some gas to it and see if we can drop some dimes. So this is some 030 wire, which is kind of good. Usually about 3 sizes, most commonly. There's many more sizes, but usually about 3 sizes. You got 023, 024 kind of thing. You got 030, and you got 035. My biggest machine, I run 035 because all it sees is like heavy plate. But 030 is kind of a happy medium. You've seen me weld sheet metal with 030. You've seen me weld, frame stuff with 030. So that's what I asked them to send with this. So, okay, here's the other gun. They were kind enough to send me the big guns, but actually, this is a pretty heavy-duty looking gun too. I just always like upgrading if possible, like if you're gonna do it. But that's actually a pretty long whip.
That's super nice.
That's actually pretty good. So, yeah, I don't know if we even need to put the big one on, but.
Why don't we just try the small one, because that's what would come
Yeah.
with it.
Like Elio suggested, we're gonna try the small one that comes with it. And, if I run some Yeah, maybe I'll leave the liner for the big wire in the big one, and we'll just run this smaller one. Okay. So installing this looks very, very easy. You just plug it in and tighten that. That is on. Done. Oops. Now, right now, these rolls, they pop out quite easy. It's like this. If you need to change a roll, pop that, pop that. This screw down, that's your adjustment for tension on the wire. So I'm just gonna pop it out and see what it's at. Okay, so it's at, the 023 size. We're gonna go to the 030 size. Yeah, so that just keys on there real easy. Just slips on and off. You can swap it around, put it back on. But we're gonna run the 030 today. Okay, I'm gonna need a pair of side cutters. Okay, spool of wire goes in, just like that. Oh, we're gonna line up this little knob to the wire, just like that. Just gotta run this right into there. And we close, and that should be good. Excellent. Now I've got to spin this back on, and we should be good to go. Okay, so we read the instructions. If we are MIG welding, this goes into there, and the ground is on the other side. Right there. We are just going to ground our table because we're just working with steel on the table. Let me plug this bad boy in. All right, on, sesame. Ooh, nice little digital display we got going on here. Ooh, brand new. Okay, so this machine has a few really cool features that actually all my other machines don't have. The more I read about this thing, the more options it's got. So yes, it does do stick welding, but it also does lift arc TIG welding as well, which is kind of an awesome feature if you're doing like sheet metal, or any kind of TIG welding. Try lift arc welding. It isn't as scary as it sounds. So one of the things I want to talk about also is that this is super beginner friendly because you can actually use the sync function and actually adjust both of these at the same time. So it's allowing your voltage and your amperage to go up and down with just one knob rather than choosing them individually, which you can also do. If you really want to dial it in, which I like to be able to dial it in based on what I'm welding, you can do voltage or your amperage speed right there. So that is one thing that's kind of awesome for beginners, is you don't have to do all that messing around. It actually has the function right there. You get to tell this machine what gas you're using as well. So that's also super handy. We're going to be using mixed gas, but you can use CO2 or whatever. The machine, it also is ready for a spool gun. So if you're buying a Miller or an expensive brand kind of machine, your spool gun is going to cost like multiple times what this whole machine costs, which if you're in the garage and you're getting into this stuff and you're looking for a budget machine, that's a bonus, I think, for sure, is that you can weld aluminum with a spool gun, you can do lift arc TIG, and you can do stick welding, and you can do MIG welding with this, and it's $500. Pretty cool. So anyway, I want to do some welds with this. It also has a spot weld timer. So if you're spot welding 18 to 24 gauge sheet metal, it has a timer so that you can actually just, and it will spot weld the same with consistency every time. Also kind of neat. Another function it has is that you can choose 2T or 4T setting. And what that means is that on 2T, the trigger, it just works like a normal welder. You pull it, it starts, it's on, you let it go, it's off. What if you have to do a massive weld, like you're welding 2-3 feet like we do here? If we're building stuff for the truck or whatever, you're doing a really, really long weld, you go to the 4T setting where you trigger on, everything starts, you're normally welding, and then you can just kind of relax, let go of the trigger, and do your weld. And then you can hit the button again, and when you release the button the second time, it will shut off. Not something that you're going to use every day, but if you're using, miles of welding, that might be a cool feature. One more thing before we get into welding I wanted to show you guys is that there are even a little bit more in-depth things that you can do here. There is, burn back adjustment, there is pre-flow and post-flow gas adjustment. That means that you can pre-flow your shielding gas before the actual MIG starts welding. So you could say like half a second of pre-flow, just to make sure that it's like absolutely inert where you're welding, so there's absolutely no chance of porosity. That again, you can do for post-flow, which means that as soon as you're done welding, it will continue to flow a bit of gas to allow your weld to cool and solidify without introducing any oxygen into your weldment. This is also very important for TIG welding, right? You want to pre-flow before you start, especially if you're doing a lift arc start type weld. So in order to do that with this machine, I'll just show you because it's a little bit kind of interesting, is you hold onto this button as you turn it on. You wait for the P, and now we're in parameters. So we've got 9 different parameters that we can adjust. Or if you want to get into a little bit more depth and details into your welding, you can adjust it with this machine. And it lets you, this is your post-flow time, your pre-flow time, your burn back adjustment, all that is in there in this machine, which is kind of cool. My MIG that I've been using my whole life doesn't do that. Neither does my Lincoln. Actually, none of my machines do that. But this is supposed to be a beginner entry-level machine. Even though you're getting all these extras with it, we are going to use it and try the sync on it, where we're going to allow it to adjust itself. We're just going to use the one control knob. We'll start with that, where we'll see if this machine is truly set up as it says it is, right? The other cool thing is that it is smart enough to know that it needs to know like what kind of wire you're using. So you get to set the thickness of wire. You got to tell the machine, okay, we're using 023 or we're using 030 or we're using 035. By telling the machine that, it automatically does those fine adjustments to that single knob adjustment that we're going to use. So when this little button is on, this sync, that means that everything adjusts on its own. And right here allows you to know what size wire. Are you using 1 mil, using 06, 08, 09? So this 06 is, your 023. The 08 is your 030. The 09 is your 035. And the 1 is your 040. 040. I've never welded 040 except for like back in welding school when we were doing like dual shielding flux core, like burning bridges, So anyway, set this back to what we're at, 0.08, which is our 030. We're on MIG, we're on sync, and then we are on 2T. This is the functions I was telling you about. It's just this little button here. That's 2T, which is what I was talking about, the trigger, right? That's 4T. And then this is our spot welding. So it does all those things. You may have noticed while I was talking that this machine had a fan on and then the fan shut off. Some of my other machines, the fan stays on the entire time, even when it's not necessary. But this has a thermostat in it, so it knows when it needs to be cooled and the fan shuts down. Not that it's like a huge bother, but it's nice that it's not just whirring away in the background when we're trying to film, right? Okay, let's get this thing hooked up, and we are hooked up. We're gonna do some welds with it right now. All right. Arccaptain, this should be a captain's hat. Missed opportunity, just saying. Okay, when I do my welding with my other welder that I've had for 18 years, I weld 1/4 inch on about 18.5 volts. So it's suggesting 149 amps. See how it's doing that on its own? We're gonna give that a try. And what did I just do with the nozzle? Ooh, gas is coming out of there, nice. Okay, we're gonna try a couple different joints. We'll do a T joint, like an inside corner. We'll do an outside corner joint, and we'll just see how good of a weld we can get with this thing and see if it feels like my other machines. Or maybe it'll be better. Cover up your skin, you know, welding's bright. It's like having a suntan. Okay, I'm gonna start with just my whip and pause technique, pushing. If I'm doing an inside corner and we're in, this is technically the horizontal position. This would be a flat position and this way would be horizontal. So I'm gonna be about 45 degrees, right directly into the corner, and then about 35 degrees angled in the direction of travel. That's what I was taught in welding school. Yes, I did go to school for something. Well, the arc is nice, and the weld is nice. There's not really very much spatter. I think that the heat and the amperage are good together because you've got that bacon frying sound. But I do think I could go a little bit hotter with that. Maybe this setting would be good for an outside corner joint, but the inside corner, I'll go up a little bit. So I'm gonna try 19 and 153. We'll give that another shot. Not too bad, not too bad. Let's really juice it up here. Gonna hit it with 20 volts. Wow, that thing welds pretty dang good. I think 20 volts is kind of our winner as far as the inside corner joint. That welds awesome, actually. Okay, let's try this outside corner. I think I might have to turn it down a little, but we'll see. Tack right here. Just to hold us in a position that's common, you know? You never really weld like that, right? Not too bad. Definitely nice and hot. I think that we could probably turn it down a little bit, and then I'm gonna do this little trick. See, this is something that I'm learning about welding from watching other guys on YouTube, is that I was always taught if there's slag, you drag. If it's not slag, like as in if it's not flux core wire or if it's not, you know, a shielded stick, like stick welding produces slag, you would pull, right? If it's slag, you drag. But what I'm seeing is these guys that are doing these beautiful welds on outside corner joints, building chassis and all that kind of stuff, they're actually dragging. And that does put a lot more heat into the material as well, because you're angled at your puddle that you were just there, so it's already hot as you're welding. So let's give that a try. And I'm gonna just turn down the heat a little bit. We'll go back to our 19 volts, automatically letting it do its own amperage and wire speed, and we'll try a little drag. Ooh. Wow. Not bad, not bad. Just so you guys know, they don't pay me to like stuff, okay? If I don't like it, I tell you I don't like it. I've just barely started using this thing, but I so far really like how easy it is to change settings. I like that the sync just works. Like, I don't know if I'd go any, more detailed into the settings of changing its wire speed and amperage and pre, post flow, all that kind of stuff for just basic welding like I do with all my other welders. That is set up awesome. So, well done you, Arccaptain. Very good. Here's the other thing. Not a lot of these welding companies that are overseas selling cheap welders have a really good warranty. These guys are 2-year warranty. That's pretty unreal. Like if you break it 23 months in, you get another welder. So, I mean, think about it. $500 for 2 years of welding, and probably a lot longer than that. I like it. I'm gonna keep burning. I'm gonna keep burning with this thing. I wanna even try dialing it in a little bit more. Should we try everybody's controversial favorite? Vertical down? Everybody out there's like, you can't do vertical down, that's not structural. Watch me. Now, this is something that I was not taught, okay? Because if you're doing vertical down, it just automatically makes you think that you should be pointing up against gravity, like you're pushing up. But it's not the case, because when you do that, you end up balling up and it doesn't actually burn in. So if you're gonna weld vertical down, controversial, light up the comments, go for it. I'm pushing down like this. And I find that it works awesome. So I'm gonna give that a shot on the inside corner here. And yeah, we'll try it at the 19. We'll see how it is. We'll see how it is. Not bad. It's passing all my tests. I don't know. I might actually trade this one onto the Lincoln cart. The Lincoln one, maybe Curtis needs a new welder. All right, well, let's get some sheet metal going, because we know it does the thick stuff. Let's turn it down for sheet metal. We're gonna try, I don't know, 15 volts, and it brings down our amperage to 76 amps. We'll see what we can do with a little bit of 18 gauge sheet metal. Now I'm not, you barely ever really weld this stuff like this, but we need to know if it can do it. Okay, all right. That to me sounds like it doesn't have enough wire speed, or it just could be too cold. It might just be too cold. Let's, we'll go 15.5. You want to hear what you were hearing before, that bacon frying sound. Like if you're MIG welding, that is how I set machines. You can check out some of my older videos. I'll throw a couple links in the description to a couple of the other MIG welding videos that just talk specifically about technique. But you set your welder by ear mostly for me. Like obviously visually it has to look like the weld is wetting out. It's not a bulbous weld, right? If your weld is too convex, it's too cold. If it's too sunken in or the edges are burned, it's too hot. So the sound that I just heard now, it's a little bit of a sizzle and pop. To me, that is either too much voltage or that is not enough amperage or wire speed. Amperage and wire speed go hand in hand, so they adjust at the same time with a machine. The more wire speed you have, the more amperage it's ramping up. So if I'm not hearing that like, you know, short circuit sound of bacon frying, it will either be too cold, or sorry, too much voltage, meaning too hot for the amount of wire speed, or not enough wire speed. Because these welds were, you know, obviously not too hot, that tells me that I need a little bit more amperage or wire speed to get that sound, right? So I just turned it up to 15.5. We'll see if it auto sets to something that I like the sound of. Which it did. Check that out. That's a dang good weld on sheet metal. Man, okay. Passed another test. What else are we gonna do? Should we try welding like wood to steel and see if it fails that? Okay, let's do a little outside corner, which I pretty much never do on sheet metal like this. It did the inside corner perfect, so let's give it a little outside corner test. Okay, this weld is gonna be bigger than it should look. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so thin, but I'm sure this is gonna work really good. So angled in the direction of travel, I'm just gonna give her a buzz. Very good. See our penetration. Full penetration on the back side without burning through with 030 wire on thin metal. Also pretty good. Huh. Butt welding. Let's do a butt weld. I know some people like to leave a gap when they're butt welding sheet metal. Me, not so much. I think that a gap kind of allows you too much chance to burn through. So I like to keep things tight and actually run the welder hot enough to burn into it. That's just me personally, and since we're working on cars all the time on this channel, when you're worried about metal pulling together and weld shrinking, if the edges of the metal are touching each other already, that's giving you a fighting chance, because these pieces of metal, even though they're trying to be pulled in by the previous weld, they can't, because they're physically touching each other already. So it does minimize a little bit of the shrinkage. If you left a gap in there and welded it, it would have room to pull together. Just my own personal thoughts on that. I'm gonna throw another tack in the center here just to keep the metal from flinging around. And then we're gonna elevate this somehow. We'll go like this. See what we can do here. Proof is in the pudding. Nice weld, full penetration. Didn't burn through. So, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you guys. This pretty wicked little welder, and you're gonna see me using it on the channel, not because I have to, but because I probably am gonna want to. Thanks a lot for watching Make It Kustom, everybody. I really appreciate you guys, and please let me know in the comments what you think of this thing, and obviously in the description we will put all the links if you want to get your own. 500 bucks, man. Like 500 bucks, and this thing does everything it says it's going to do. Has a 2-year warranty. It's easy to use. You can also get more detailed in the setup if you want to do that, which I'm sure we'll play with someday. But as far as just set it and forget it, like, you know, beginner welding style, this machine has my vote. So if you want one, grab one. You can use the code to get an extra discount. These are regularly 600 and some odd bucks, but for you guys, for this channel, for this promotion, you get them for 500 bucks. And if you don't have a welder, this is a great one. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one. More ramp truck coming.